flag together. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. If we could have our mission statement, please. Rich?
Oh, me?
Yes, you. Sorry, didn't mean to catch you unprepared.
Community High School strives to promote and provide growth experiences in learning, leadership, and living.
All right, Cheryl, if you could do a District 94 roll call, please.
Mr. Brown.
Here.
Ms. Casey Mayer.
Here.
Mr. Ramos.
Here.
Mr. Nagel.
Present.
Mr. Say.
Present.
Mr. Zuniga.
Ellison, will you please call roll for D33?
Mrs. Rita Bogman.
Present.
Mrs. Felicia Gills. Mr. Tom Doyle.
Present.
Mr. Chad McLean.
Present.
Mrs. Sandra Garcia.
Present. Present.
Okay, at this point, is there any public participation? All right, hearing none, we move into welcome. Good evening. I'd like to welcome everyone from Districts 33 and 94 to our joint meeting. I would like to thank Rita and Felicia from District 33 for reaching out to Lynn and myself back in January to begin the discussions that led to this meeting. We all know that our two districts have had some significant challenges in our relationship in the past. This meeting is absolutely not about going into the past issues between us. This meeting and our relationship going forward needs to be completely free from blame and finger-pointing about the past. Tonight's meeting is all about starting a new process for us to move forward together into the future as close partners and trusted friends. Both of our districts serve the same community, and our community, even before COVID, has had a lot of struggles and challenges. COVID only amplified them. Neither one of our districts on its own has all the resources that our community's children need, but together we do. Over the years, there have been several studies done as to whether our districts, as well as Districts 34 and 25, should consolidate into a single unified district. The most recent of these was in 2009. Despite the statewide push to encourage districts to consolidate, the outcome from this study, which was conducted by investigators provided by the state, was that our community was better served by remaining as separate districts rather than consolidating. This was a very welcome but surprising recommendation from the state investigators. The summary of their study and a major part of the reason that they recommended that our districts not consolidate says, quote, "These districts exhibit an ongoing cooperative nature among themselves and regularly meet to assure that student standards are monitored and maintained as equally as possible," end quote. Essentially, we serve our community best when we exist as separate districts, but in many ways function as if we were all part of the same district. We won't be able to solve all of the challenges facing our districts and our communities tonight, and I expect there will be quite a few follow-up meetings coming out of tonight's discussion. Tonight is a night for a new beginning for the relationship between Districts 33 and 94, and I am sure that both school boards look forward to regular updates on the progress and achievements towards better serving our students and communities as we move forward from tonight. Thank you all for your participation and for your passion in helping all of our students to be the best that they can be, from pre-kindergarten all the way to high school graduation and beyond.
I don't have much to add. I just wanted to say thank you to the D94 and D33 administration for all of their time and effort pulling this together and the presentations we're about to see. I know it took a lot of work, and we really appreciate it. And I am also very hopeful and excited about the collaboration that is coming out of tonight. Thanks.
Good evening, and let me introduce myself. I'm Moses Chang. I'm the superintendent here, and this is my 15th year in the district, having served 12 years as principal here. And I can tell you that I'm excited about our meeting tonight. It's been a long time since we've had a joint board meeting together, and I think this just is an indication of the good partnership that we already have and the one that we can continue moving forward. We've already had a great number of teachers from District 33 come to visit us, and we in turn have also gone out to District 33. And that is really a testament to the work that both Christina and I have done, as well as the positive relationships that our two communities have with each other. And it's great to see. And honestly, it extends beyond 33. It also incorporates Districts 25 and 34. Earlier today, this afternoon, Christina and I were at a superintendent articulation meeting, and it really was a good time to be able to talk about how we both serve the same kids and how we can align our resources, our thoughts, and our ideas and our strategies to make sure that all of the kids are successful. So I welcome you here and am proud to have this opportunity to have both of our districts talk about our kids and to have the opportunity to talk about the ideas that we can use to move forward. And then I'll turn it over to Christina.
Well, again, thank you so much for welcoming us. I do want to echo the sentiment of gratitude and give a shout out to Will, as well as Gloria and Leah and Maggie and their teams, both teams. There's been a tremendous amount of collaboration that has been so fruitful for our teachers, and they've come back extremely excited, plastering their walls with ideas of what they learned and excitement for what they can do for the students for next year. So I think we're really off to a great start, so I look forward to this continuing. So just for tonight, just kind of giving an overview, what we're going to do is we are going to present, District 33 is going to present first. You have Post-its on your table that say 33 or 94. If you have any questions, just for sake of time and the fact that we're live streaming this, if you could jot your questions on your Post-its, that way we can capture those and we can answer those at a separate time. So we'll present, you have Post-its, you can ask your questions from us of our presentation, then D94 will go, they'll have questions possibly that you'll want to notate, and we'll collect those as well with that color. I think theirs is green maybe. And then after that, what we're going to do is we're going to talk about interests. And so we're going to kind of use a modified IBB process, interest-based process, where after that we will have some chart papers up that we'll line the room with or put maybe on your tables. And they're in kind of like big idea buckets. And so at your tables, you can collaborate. We'll give you a set amount of time, about 5 minutes for each topic, to collaborate over just shared interests maybe around our students or our families, our community. And then we can collect those, we'll put them up, and then each table will have an opportunity to do the same, to share their interests around those key ideas. Then what we foresee doing, and Moses and I discussed this today, was we already have a summit scheduled between the districts in June. So we thought we could take those shared interests to our summit, and at that summit, do a collective action plan around those ideas. And then we would like to come back with you in the fall and share some of those ideas in that planning that we did. And we're open to ideas and suggestions if things flow a little bit differently, but we felt like that would be a good way to use this time. Sound good? So I'm going to go ahead and get started, kick us off. I hope I've done this right. So we're going to be presenting some information to you tonight. I just want to give you a brief summary. We're going to start off by talking about predictors of high school success beginning in middle school based on some research that we've used. And this is something that we really use in terms of our lens. The lens that we look at our students and how we do our planning, our strategic plan, are really around these predictors and how we can best support our middle schoolers so that they're successful for high school, but not just high school, also beyond, because we're looking at graduation, we're looking at opportunities for them after high school. So we're not just looking at them as 8th graders to 9th grade, we're looking at what are we doing in District 33 to prepare them for high school and beyond. Then we're going to go through District 33 students and families and give you just an overview of who our kids are and our families are. We'll share a little bit about our 5-year strategic plan, which we rolled out this past year. We're also going to go into how we're building capacity and trying to mitigate some of those risk factors that we know from the research that some of our students in our demographics face. And some of that's related to academic achievement and then opportunity gaps. And then we'll just share with you what we believe and value as a portrait of a graduate and beyond. So I'm going to turn it over to our teammates because we're going to do some introductions. So we'll start off with, how about we introduce our teams first? So if you want to stand, and then we'll have D94 stand. So if you want to start, Whitney, in the back.
Hi, I'm
evening, I'm Maggie Lay. I'm the principal at the middle school.
Good evening, I'm Gloria Trejo. I am the assistant superintendent.
Hello, I'm Beth Walrath, Director of Assessment and Accountability. Norton, and I'm the Coordinator of Partnerships.
Ready? D94, do you want to stand and do your introductions as well?
Will Dwyer, I'm the principal here at West Chicago High School.
Mary Howard, I'm the Assistant Principal for Teaching and Learning.
And how about we go ahead and do board members too? So just, I'm sorry, Veronica.
Veronica Jimenez-Winston, I'm the bilingual director.
Great. District 33 board, do you want to stand up and introduce yourselves?
I'm Rita Balgaman.
Morgan Benasiak.
Chad McLean.
Also.
And D94 board?
Brown.
And Casey Mayer.
Bonnie Zuniga.
Steak.
Rich Nagel.
Great, thank you. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Whitney Del Toro, our lead math teacher, who will soon be our assistant principal at Courier School.
Good evening. We are going to be looking at predictors of high school success beginning in middle school and how we can support them in District 33. We know that the importance of early identification and intervention to prevent students from dropping out of high school and our role in that in District 33 to mitigate the high dropout rates. Risk factors for dropping out of high school can be identified as early as 6th grade. The transition between middle school to high school we know is a tipping point for students who seem to be in the process of dropping out. So that transition time is really important in kind of catching those and making sure we're alleviating that dropout. Identification of high school students at risk happens in the first semester of 9th grade. That's the critical year, those first 3 months of 9th grade. And then we know that students who failed even one single course in 9th grade had an average graduation rate of 20 percentage points lower than those who passed all of their courses. Identifying students who are at risk for dropping out include academic factors. The number one reason for dropping out, the academic risk, is excessive absenteeism. This is why in D33 we work so closely with our community partners and our community school programs, which you will hear about later, to promote school attendance and to work with our families to help get their children to school. Another risk factor is failing more than one core subject or failing to be promoted into 10th grade. Finally, the failure to be promoted to the next grade due to low GPA is a significant factor and significant indicator in dropping out of high school in later years. In addition to academic risk factors, we know that there are social risk factors. Social risk factors include minority language status, the students who are multilingual learners who speak a language other than English at home. The race of the students, primarily if they are Black, Hispanic, or Native American. Students who come from low-income families, or those who are considered homeless, or McKinney-Vento students, which we will hear more about later, have a greater risk of dropping out of high school. The level of education of their parents positively correlates with the student's prognosis for high school graduation. And finally, family structure. We know that our students who come from divorced and single-family households have a higher dropout rate than students whose biological families remain intact. According to the Illinois report card, the freshman on-track indicator identifies students as on track if they have the following: earn at least 5 full-year course credits, or have no more than 1 semester F in a core course. Students who finish 9th grade on track are almost 4 times as likely to graduate high school than those who are not on track. This indicator is a more accurate predictor of graduation rates than students' previous achievement scores or their background characteristics. So finally, how are we in District 33 helping to address these factors? We're looking at our programming and we're continuing to make improvements. At the middle school, we offer curriculum compacting in math, which will increase the number of 8th graders who take and pass Algebra 1. We offer enrichment and/or acceleration in both language arts and mathematics in grades K through 8 with the help of our K2 enrichment teachers, our 3 through 5 gifted specialists, and our 6/8 math and language arts GATE teachers. We have a K-8 dual language program to address the needs of our high population of ELLs and meet the Illinois School Code Article 14C, which requires us to provide bilingual education if we have 20 or more students who speak a language other than English in one building. The dual language program is the program that we offer to support the needs of our students. We also offer enrichment and accelerated in dual language in grades 6 through 8. Our teachers have received extensive professional development training in translanguaging, which is a research-based method highlighting and leveraging a student's entire linguistic repertoire. Finally, we have increased the number of after-school activities offered at both the elementary and the middle school level. We provide activity buses to help with transportation. We know that engaging students in the school community throughout activities is one way to prevent students from dropping out of school in later years. Now I will turn it over to Gloria to help give you a little bit more background on our students in District 33.
So who are the students in District 33? So this kind of encompasses the neighboring districts as well as District 33, in addition to the Illinois average. So if you take a look in West Chicago, 80% of our students, the students that we serve, are Hispanic or Latino, while 12% are white, 4% is Black, and 3% are Asian. When you look at the state, you will see that 47% are white, 27% is Hispanic, 17% are Black, and 5% are Asian, and 4% are other. So you will see that in District 33, when you take a look at the comparison, it is very distinct from one another. So here in District 33, we have about 16% of our students are in special education. When you take a look at the state average, Illinois state average, it's 15%. While we have 50% of students that are low income in District 33, and when you look at the comparison to the state average, that's 48%. English language learners, 62% of our students are ELL, while the state average is 13%. So you will see a very distinct comparison. So currently, we have about almost 3,700 of students in District 33, while we have a Births to 3 program, as well as 3 early childhood locations, one which is at Winfield, and then we have a Trinity, as well as an early learning center. We also have 6 elementary buildings and 1 middle school, and the middle school, if you notice the numbers, it is over almost 1,200 students. So as Whitney mentioned, we do service many students that are McKinney-Vento. And so currently, we have 324 students that are McKinney-Vento. So what is McKinney-Vento? McKinney-Vento are students who are either doubled up in a household, are in shelters, living in motels, runaways, lockouts. We have about 42 students in the Birth to 3 that are McKinney-Vento. And if you look at the district average, 8.7% of our students that we serve are McKinney-Vento. When you look at the state average is 1.7. So you see how those numbers are very distinct. So in accordance to the Homeless Assistance Act, we provide the choice for our students. If they are McKinney-Vento, we provide the opportunity for students to choose where they go to school, while we ensure that they are immediately enrolled. Transportation is provided, as well as due to, we have several preschool locations, we really give them the opportunity, give them the priority to enroll in one of our preschool programs. And we do provide, as all of our children, we do provide access to remote learning and provide all of the necessary resources that you'll hear a little bit later to our students. So why is this important? So as you can see, when you look at how District 33 looks in comparison to Illinois, we do have to provide resources to students that meets the needs of their home needs as well as their individual needs. So for us, we really need to work closely and collaboratively with our families to provide those extra resources so that we can ensure and mitigate those things that we heard factors, as we heard today. So we want to promote attendance. We want to close those opportunity gaps so that students are prepared and are ready to learn when they come to District 33. So as I share a little bit about these demographics, as I mentioned, we do want to provide the resources that they need. And Leah DeLuca, our teaching and learning director, is going to provide a little bit more of what our programming looks like in District 33.
Thank you. So as you all know, we do have dual language, kindergarten, pre-K to 8th grade. Article 14C of Illinois School Code requires that school districts provide support to students where there are 20 or more languages, 20 or more of students with one language in a school building. Wegner School is definitely our most diverse school within the district. We have over 46 languages spoken at Wegner School. One of those languages that is approaching that number 20 is Arabic. So we are getting very close to having to offer some additional programming for our students that speak Arabic. But all of our schools do offer dual language within the district, which is one-way dual language, and then our Gary School, which is a two-way dual language program. So dual language is considered the most effective bilingual education model. It promotes English acquisition while maintaining their first language, which has later economic benefits for students. The research shows that the time it takes for students to learn a second language is 4 to 7 years for on-grade level students in their first language to reach average English academic proficiency, 7 to 10 years for students learning only in their second language for students to reach that average academic language proficiency, if they reach it at all. So this research supports the dual language program and that simultaneous instruction of English and Spanish. Everything we do within District 33 currently aligns to our District 33 strategic plan. So last year, we had several community members, board members, teachers, other staff, even students. Some students from District 94 also participated in our strategic planning process. So we have a clearly defined plan that allows us to allocate specific resources that are needed to meet our goals within the plan. This plan goes from 2021 to 2026. So I am going to share a video that outlines our entire strategic plan and the overview. So I'm not going to go through each part of this, but you will see that in the video.
We are excited to share our new District 33 strategic plan entitled Achieve 2026. The District 33 strategic plan sets the priorities, focuses our energy and resources, strengthens our operations, and ensures that we are working toward common goals to improve student achievement over the next 5 years. There are 4 key components and questions that shape our plan. The mission answers the question, why do we exist? What is the fundamental purpose of District 33? The District 33 mission is to
equip students to become lifelong learners who embrace diversity, welcome innovation, and aspire to be catalysts for positive change innovative, rigorous, future-oriented education, a culture of equity, diversity, and personalized learning, active community partnership, student agency to develop voice, choice, ownership, and self-sufficiency. The core values answer the question, how must we be paid to create the district that will achieve our vision and mission? The District 33 core values are Equity, collaboration, high-level engagement, support for the whole child, high expectations, partnership, trusting relationships, student voice and choice.
The portrait of a graduate answers the question, what are the values and characteristics we wish to see demonstrated by our students when they graduate from our district? A portrait of a graduate is clear communicator, collaborator, resilient, technologically adaptable, critical thinker and problem solver, empathetic, advocate for self and others, culturally aware.
Goal number 1, student growth and achievement. Ensure all students meet challenging academic, physical, and social-emotional standards.
Goal 2, learning culture of equity, engagement, and agency. Cultivate a welcoming, nurturing, and student-centered learning environment that embraces student curiosity and originality and is aligned to clear learning expectations.
Goal number 3, professional culture of teamwork and continuous improvement. Embrace a culture of collaboration, inclusivity, trust, innovation, and professional growth that attracts, develops, and retains a diverse, high-quality staff.
Goal number 4, family engagement and community partnerships. Collaborate and communicate with our families and community to build strong relationships and increase equitable opportunities that help students and families thrive.
Goal number 5, effective and innovative use of resources. Meet the evolving needs of our students by leveraging all available resources to provide high-quality programs and services and innovative technology and learning environments while maintaining fiscal responsibility.
We would like to thank the staff, students, parents, and community members that contribute to this plan. We look forward to the next 5 years as we inspire, empower, and achieve. Together for excellence.
Teachable's given me a chance to turn doing what I love into a full.
So goal number 5, we talked about in our strategic plan, the resources that we have within the district. We have been extremely fortunate as a district to be in Tier 1 of evidence-based funding for the past several years. This has really allowed us to increase our support for our students and families and allocate resources that we believe are necessary to help our students be successful and to meet our goals within our strategic plan. So we have added some of the funding was used towards what you see here. We've added a ton of additional staff, 28 special education specialists. This includes LBS1s, nurses, psychologists, social workers, LEAs, et cetera. We've actually added we have 6 social workers now at Lehman Middle School to support our 1,100 or so students, which has been a huge benefit at the middle school along with those other positions. We've added 33 instructional FTE. This includes 1 SEL health teacher at every single elementary building, additional math teachers to support our block scheduling at the middle school for math, additional music teachers, gifted and talented teachers, instructional coaches, lead technology teachers. We have also added the Becoming a Man mentoring program for our students at the middle school. And we've increased our exploratory offerings, which I'll share with you in a little bit. We've added 12 interventionists in both literacy and math across the district. One major piece of evidence-based funding that we're really fortunate to have added is the expanded curriculum materials. So prior to evidence-based funding, we were developing all of our own curriculum. We did not have the funding to support a district-wide adoption of a highly rated language arts and math curriculum. We have now adopted American Reading Company. That was a $3.7 million adoption that occurred in 2019, right before COVID. And then also our Eureka Math curriculum. Both of these curricula are highly rated on EdReports as some of the top resources that can be used within a school district. So we are very fortunate to have that. I want to note, though, that American Reading Company did begin right when the pandemic hit. So we're still doing all of our training and professional development to really help support staff to ensure that we have fidelity of implementation with that curriculum. Eureka, we did start a few years before that, and we've seen some great gains within Eureka, but we're still continuing to provide that professional development for staff and make some tweaks within that to best support our students. Both of these resources are fully in English and Spanish, which has been huge for our dual language program as well, and for building our biliterate, bilingual, and bicultural students. So we have increased middle school literacy and math instruction through our block schedule. We do now offer language arts and math in both English and Spanish for 80-minute blocks. Prior to that expansion and that master schedule change at the middle school, those were only 40-minute periods. So we are now offering 80-minute blocks for both language arts and math instruction. And then we have our new middle school exploratory offerings. When we created this programming, we really looked to all of the different opportunities that students could pursue in high school and beyond, and we wanted to essentially give them exposure to these different areas so that when they do get to high school, they have a better idea of what their interests are and can select their high school courses accordingly. So these are the middle school exploratory offerings that we provide. We have career cruising, discovering art, digital literacy. That pathway leads to 2D art, speech, STEM foundations. We have a sound media production class, 3D art, and game design. And then the other pathway, we have financial literacy, drama, innovations, which is another technology class, community relations, video production, and web design. So these are all of the exploratory pathways that we offer. In addition to that, we have year-long exploratory options. This includes our extensive music program, which band, orchestra, choir, and mariachi are all a part of. In 6th grade, we offer a year-long social emotional learning class. Part of this was the importance of that transition from 5th to 6th grade and the increased need for that social emotional support as our students transition from elementary school to middle school. So that class is offered at 6th grade. And then we have local civics, national civics, and international civics in 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. Students that are not a part of the dual language program are offered Spanish as a foreign language in 7th and 8th grade. And then we also have our 7th and 8th grade Latinos in Action program, and one that is not on here that we now have is our AVID program. Maggie, am I missing any? So I am going to turn it over to Jenny Brunke. She's our lead literacy teacher. She is going to talk to you about how we build capacity and mitigate risk factors through our academic achievement and programming.
Okay, so over the next few slides, we'll look at D33 achievement data for students across grade levels, so in kindergarten, in 3rd grade, and in 8th grade. We'll begin with our kindergarten data. So here you see data reflective of our kindergarten individual development survey, our KIDS data, which is showing us the percentage of students meeting beginning kindergarten expectation in the fall of their corresponding year. On the left side of the slide, we have 2019, so pre-pandemic data for all D33 students, as well as all students across the state of Illinois. We can see scores in the areas of social emotional development in green, math in purple, literacy in light blue, and literacy for our English learners in the darker blue scores. Taking a look at that left side, we see that we have some pretty nice pre-COVID data. When we look over to the right, As you can see, our COVID-impacted scores look quite different for D33 from those in 2019. We do not have access to statewide scores for 2021 school year for comparison purposes, but as a district, one of our goals is just to accelerate our student learning and growth so that we can most quickly get back to our pre-pandemic scores. And as you can see, some areas of focus we'll have are on literacy and our social emotional development readiness for our kindergarten students. And as Leah mentioned, and as we mentioned throughout the presentation, we do have some curricular supports in place to help boost those literacy scores and some wraparound community supports to help our students who have needs in terms of their social and emotional development. Moving on to our third grade student data. This is a little different. So here we're examining trend data by demographic. We have NWEA MAP reading scores and math scores. Our reading scores are on the left side of the screen and our math scores are on the right side of the screen. These are third grade scores for each school year, so they're different groups of students in third grade in 2017, 2018, so on and so forth until we hit the 2022 school year. The bars represent the percentage of students in various demographics that perform at or above the 50th percentile on NWEA MAP assessments. The green bars represent our Asian student population. The red bars are Black African American students. The blue bars represent Hispanic students, and the orange bars represent white students. You can see we also have a gray bar next to each school year, and that represents combined demographics for all, or combined scores for all demographics throughout the grade level. As you can see by the gray bars in both math and reading, D33 scores remain relatively constant in terms of the percentage of students who score at or above that 50th percentile. We're consistently at about 30% of our students. However, one of the things that may jump out at you, especially in our reading scores, is that in 2022, our scores by demographic can seem quite polarized in that reading data. This is due in part to the number of students testing within our Asian and Black subgroups in third grade that school year. However, and regardless, you can see that our Asian and white students are yielding the highest results in our data, while our Black and Hispanic students are in need of the most support. This trend is reflective of state and national concerns. So moving forward as a district, we're looking to close these gaps in performance. Moving on to 8th grade, here our slide depicts the same type of data, and we'll see some similar trends. Again, we're looking at NWEA MAP data, reading on the left, math on the right. These scores are different groups of students in 8th grade each year, 2017 to 2022. Once again, the bars represent the success of different subgroups of students in terms of reaching or surpassing that 50th percentile on their MAP assessment. Again, Asian students are represented by the green bar, Black students by the red bar, Hispanic students in blue, and white students in orange. And again, the gray bar combines them all by grade level. Looking at the right-hand side of the slide, as a whole, our D33 math scores are sitting right around 30% of students performing at or above the 50th percentile year over year. This is similar to what you saw in our third grade data. But we'd like to note that as a district, our reading scores do trend upwards by 8th grade. They're sitting around 40% at or above the 50th percentile, compared to about 30% in third grade. However, once again, you see our demographic data mirrors the national concerns in which white and Asian students are performing much better on this particular assessment than our Black and Hispanic students in both content areas. So this need remains an area of focus for us all moving forward. Okay. Finally, we'll get into some cohort data. This slide depicts performance on NWEA MAP for reading and for math for the same group of students as they move from 3rd grade to 5th grade to 8th grade within our district. On the left is our reading data, and you'll see that in nearly all demographics, our students are performing better in NWEA over time. Again, you can see our white and Asian students performing well above the average, while other demographics are in need of support to meet our goal levels. Math is similar in that our white students are demonstrating consistent growth, but we are seeing achievement gaps and inconsistent trend lines visible for our other subgroups. And as we have mentioned and will continue to mention throughout our presentation, to address these concerns, we have different curricular supports adapted as our district resources that are highly rated on ed reports and are proven to support all of our learners. Okay. So with that, I will turn it over to Beth Walworth, who will discuss our IAR data.
Hello. The previous slide showed MAP assessment data, and I'm going to show you the state assessment data for the Illinois Assessment of Readiness, the IAR, as we call it. It is the 3rd through 8th grade test of grade level standards. Here we have our achievement as a total district as compared to the state for English language arts. And at the far right, you can see our total of students who've met or exceeded standards. Those are the light and dark green bars. And as a district, we are below the state average. In mathematics, it's a similar story. The number of students meeting and exceeding as a district were around 17.6%. The state is at 31.8% meeting exceeding in grade level standards. Here we've broke it down by subgroups. The white subgroup, 49.8% of students met or exceeded standards, and that is above the state average. But the student groups of students identified as Black or Hispanic, those numbers, those totals are below the state averages. Additional subgroups of English learners and students with IEPs are below the state averages, with 5.2 for English learners and 4.4% of students meeting standards if they have an IEP, whereas in the state, English learners, 10.4% meet standards, and students with IEPs, 8.6 as the state average meet standards. Very similar story in mathematics. District 33 student group, students identify as white, 45.4% meet standards. At the state, it's a little less at 41.6%. Our Black student group, 10.7% meet standards. At the state level, it's 11.9%, very close there. The gap widens again with our Hispanic subgroup of 12.2% of students meeting standards, where at the state level, it's 20.4% of students meeting standards. In mathematics for English learners, at the district level, 7.8% meet standards, at the state level, 11.7%. And then students with IEPs, 3.7% are meeting or exceeding standards, and at the state level, it's 8.8%. We went through all those details because we are very aware of them, and they're very much a focus of our strategic plan, closing those achievement gaps. While we haven't yet reached where we wish to be achievement-wise, we are growing students considerably. In the Stanford Opportunity Project from Stanford University, which you can find online at edopportunity.org, they look at learning rates. How much do students grow year after year in test scores? And while our test scores are not as high as our neighbors, our growth rate is considerably higher than our neighbors. But it has to be, because our students do not start in the same place as many of our neighbors. And learning rates are considered a better way to assess what children learn in school rather than being heavily influenced by outside factors. So you can see that overall, West Chicago makes 23% more growth than the national average. And then we talk about MAP scores and the number of students at the 50th percentile. Why do we find that an important goal to try and achieve? It's because the 50th percentile, if our local norms match national norms, our students could go anywhere in the U.S. and benefit from grade level instruction. So we are working to have our local norms mirror national norms. So here you can see the difference between 3rd grade and 8th grade in English reading. And again, in 3rd grade, the gray bars, around 30% of students are at the 50th percentile. By the time they reach 8th grade, nearly 50%. We've really closed the gap, and we're very close to that goal in language arts. In math, it is not quite the same clear progression. And this led to some changes in our math curriculum, but again, we're looking at where they're at in 3rd grade and expecting to grow them considerably by the time they get to 8th grade. That I'll turn it over to Sarah Norton.
Okay, so as Whitney highlighted earlier, District 33 families face a wide variety of risk factors. This includes low-income families, English language learning status, poverty, adverse childhood experiences, as well as food insecurity and parental education levels. These risk factors also contribute to opportunity gaps. We also saw our achievement gaps between our subgroups, and research shows that achievement gaps are a result of opportunity gaps. So in response to the opportunity gaps, District 33 brought in a community school model in 2015, and this model has grown ever since. Community school model is a national evidence-based strategy to improve equitable outcomes between student population groups. District 33's community school model is also seen as a leader in Illinois and a mentor to many new districts that are looking to bring this model to their schools. So community school model includes everything here in the graphic, and while this department, the Department of Partnerships, kind of spearheads the work of community schools, it truly is and belongs to the families, the teachers, the staff, and students for everybody to engage in. And everything in our community school model is directly aligned with our strategic plan. Here you can see some of the programming that we offer in our robust model here. This is in response to what staff, families, and students need. This is not an exhaustive list, but it is a few examples, and I'll go into depth a little bit more. One piece that I want to highlight are our family liaison. These staff members, we have 12 of them from preschool to middle school, are what people think about when they think about our community school model. They work and partner with our families and parents to provide support on their goals and to overcome non-academic barriers. Most notably, they work with parents on attendance monitoring, promoting positive attendance. They help with community resources and referrals. They also support our McKinney-Vento students in identifying those families and providing them the services that they qualify for. And they help with parenting education and parenting engagement opportunities. So you can see here from last school year, the total contacts made by these 12 staff members over the course of the year. And since that was COVID, our numbers this year and our data is really trending upwards, and we're going to see a big increase in these numbers this year, especially now that home visits and meeting with parents has been made easier. So in addition to extending and enriching the student opportunities, we know that giving parents and family members the opportunity to engage in extended learning opportunities is really important for academic success of their children. So here you can see some of the family and adult programming, and again, these are in response to the needs that we see in the community. So they vary from a school-based food pantry at Lehman Middle School to ESL classes. We have adult driver's education classes and a variety of opportunities for parents to serve on committees so that their voice is heard and what they would like to see in District 33 in the future. So in addition to the community schools teams and family liaisons, this work is made possible by our community partners. We know as a school district and as educators, we cannot address all of our families' needs alone. That is why we depend on our community partners in their various areas of expertise to give other supports so that our teachers and building admin can focus on delivering high-quality curriculum, and we can rely on our partners to support with those non-academic barriers. Here's just a few pictures of highlights of our various activities that we do within community schools. There's a picture of an apartment playgroup that our staff actually go out to the apartment complexes and give enrichment opportunities on site to remove that barrier of transportation for families. We have a wide variety of food distributions before COVID, during COVID, and still now. We've had opportunities to expand that. We have parent cafes, virtual cooking clubs, our annual backpack event. And these opportunities serve our District 33 families, but they also serve District 94 and the broader West Chicago community. Here's a list of clubs that are available at Lehman. These have greatly expanded, and they are based on students' interest, and students are able to propose new club ideas so that they can be more responsive to what students want to see. And at the elementary level, there is an after-school committee that is working with parents and staff members to expand elementary clubs and streamline after-school opportunities. Leah touched on some of these examples earlier. Our enrichment and extended day learning opportunities are both after school, beyond school hours, and also built into the school day. We have after-school programs at all of our elementary schools, many with our Chicago partnerships in art and education, CAPE, and they extend our school day till 6 p.m. and serve up to 90 students at each school location. Our after-school programs, we try to use a wide variety of approaches and topics to best meet the diverse needs of our students and to be culturally relevant. So some examples, mariachi, ballet folklorico, and our after-school programs as well. So all of this work is to accomplish our strategic plan and develop students that fit the District 33's portrait of a graduate. And that is the end of our presentation, so I'm going to pass it over to District 94.
All right. Well, before we begin, if you need, the bathrooms are in the back through the doors to the left. All right, so feel free to take advantage of that opportunity whenever you want. It was really nice to hear about the background and the context that the students from Lehman Middle School and District 33 are coming to us with. And naturally, as you sit there and listen to that, the next question that you have is, well, how are they doing when they get to the high school? So we've been asked to present more data for you on how your students are doing when they get to us and become all of our students. And before we get into that, there are just a couple of things I wanted to set the context for what we view when we see kids coming to us. We've talked a lot about data and talked a lot about numbers, but we want you to understand that we see our students as more than just numbers. We talk about achievement, we talk about gaps, but we know that the numbers are not fatalistic. The opportunities are always there, and we're trying to teach our kids that learning, living, and leading has no ceiling. And the biggest takeaway for me really hit home when my wife and I fostered 4 kids for 2 years. And so we took in 4 siblings all at once, and they went from kindergarten all the way up to freshman year in high school. The kindergartner and the first grader that we had did not read, and they came to us in January. And so if we were to throw their data up on the screen, it would be horrible. But that wasn't the point of why we fostered. My wife worked with them after school, and by the end of 2 years that we had them in our house, they were reading. Granted, they were not reading at grade level, but that's not the point. The point is growth, and the growth doesn't stop. And so when we talk about our kids, or even when we break out data naturally to see how 33 students are doing, possibly in comparison to others, it's not the ceiling that we're talking about. That's where they are. It's a moment in time. It's one of many factors that we try to grow our kids in. And so that is the context and how we approach and look at this information that we want to share with you. So I wanted to set that context. And again, just, you probably know this already, but as a district, 75% of our students come from District 33. So it's a significant portion. And then you already know the demographics by ethnicity. Right now, we are at about 68% Hispanic. Over the last 15 years that I've been here, that has changed dramatically. When I first got here, it was right around 38%, 40% Hispanic. And we recognize that, and we've tried to provide supports as well as instruction in ways that really move along and are relevant for the changing demographics of our community. So with that, I will turn it over to Mary Howard to talk about student achievement data.
Good evening. Tonight's presentation focuses on 3 goals. So we'd like to share a snapshot of objective data with an understanding of our students' strengths and opportunity gaps. We'd like to explain the Tier 2 supports that are available to them. And then we'd ultimately really like to thank you for this year's collaboration between District 33 and the administration and teachers with our WeGo faculty and staff. We really look forward to expanding our work with you on the 8th to 9th grade transition. Just as we heard from you, we just wanted to reiterate a little bit of the demographic factors. So for those of you who were here for the February data presentation, this will sound familiar. So we wanted to kind of acknowledge the fact that the opportunity gaps that were already spoken about for students who are Latino and Black, that they are correlated with gaps in those areas we've talked about: income, poverty, unemployment, parents' education. Despite this, one of the things we'd really like you to note is that ultimately the mean scores for growth for our District 94 students meet the expected growth from the state in terms of both our discrete kind of reading, writing, as opposed to math and composite. You've also mentioned this as well, just to acknowledge that like District 33, District 94 serves more Latino students than the Illinois state average. A quarter of Illinois students are Latino. However, 70% of Latino students are concentrated in just 43 of Illinois' 865 school districts, which is less than 5% of the school districts in the state. Now we'll look at some standardized testing data for the SAT suite. So this slide shows the composite growth for the class of 2021 from 8th through 11th grade on the PSAT and SAT assessments. The mean composite score for all District 94 students in the class of 2021 demonstrates expected growth from the PSAT 8 to the SAT junior year. Likewise, the District 33 graduates' mean score also meet growth expectations. This slide illustrates the District 33 composite scores and growth for the same cohort of students. The mean growth for District 33 students in reading and writing, I went too far, was 77 points. 76 points in reading and writing. Mean composite growth for all District 94 students was 195 points. So again, these gains demonstrate the expected growth according to the SAT. This particular slide isolates the growth for District 33 students. The next 3 slides demonstrate the mean percentiles for 4 groups. The gray represents District 33. Light blue represents all District 94 students. Navy represents the scores of District 94 students who did not attend District 33, and turquoise is the national percentiles. A percentile shows how a student scored compared to others. It's a number between 1 and 99 that represents the percentage of students whose scores are equal to or below that student or group of student scores. So for example, the mean reading and writing score from the class of 2021 demonstrate that the District 33 students score as well or higher than 35% of the students across the nation who took the spring 2021 SAT. This percentile is 38% for all District 94 students, 57 for District 94 students who did not attend District 33. And then again, as a reference, the national percentile is in turquoise on the right. So here, if someone's math percentile is 57, that means 57% of the test takers have math scores equal to or below that score. And composite scores can be read the same way. Next, we'll look at grade distribution. This slide illustrates the historic grades for 2021 when students were remote or hybrid. The three columns capture the percentages of A's, B's, and C's that District 33, all District 94, and District 94 students who did not attend District 33 earned. For example, 38% of all grades earned by District 33 students during the 2021 school year were A's. This slide captures a 5-year history of the failure rate from 2017 to 2021 by cohort. Note that the increased percentages in light blue refer to the impact of remote and blended learning. This slide illustrates the historic failure rate as well. This is just simply representing it in a table form. Note that we're talking about freshman, sophomore, junior, and senior individualized data. There's an advanced placement. This slide illustrates the significant growth in honors and AP enrollment in the last decade. From a low of approximately 1,100 students enrolled in honors and advanced placement classes in 2012 to a high of over 2,000 in 2019. This demonstrates the open access for students as well as the district and families' growth mindset. More students are taking advantage of these opportunities to take rigorous classes. Likewise, students are being supported so that they're successful in these classes. You can see that during the same period of time, District 33 enrollment in honors and AP classes increased from 680 students to more than 1,200. The enrollment for District 33 students also doubled from 2012 to 2019. Perhaps more importantly, the number of students who took AP tests and the number of students who passed an AP test by earning a score of 3, 4, or 5 also increased dramatically from 2008 to 2019. The gray column represents the number of tests taken. The navy line represents the number of tests passed. This slide provides the same table information in a table. Only 29 District 33 students initially were eligible for AP credit, and then in 2019, that number was 280. Welcome. Mr. Martino.
All right, I do want to say, I want to echo what Dr. Chang said, and I've been here for almost 20 years, and I want to say how fabulous I think this is, because there's a ton of things that I do not know about the middle school, and I'm extremely encouraged by the things that I have seen, and I'm super excited because what you're going to see in my slides, which are not terribly interesting, but are extremely important, just like 33 has just said, attendance is a great indicator of what we have going on in terms of how we can help the kids. And I've been doing this job for maybe 16-ish, and I was a dean before that, and I was in an at-risk program before that. I have 2 high schoolers of my own. I also have a kindergartner and a 2-year-old, and no matter, it appears like educators sometimes have the hardest time with their kids. So I just see my own children in a lot of these things, and it makes you really perk up and watch it. And I don't think I paid attention to the data the same when I wasn't a parent, but now that I have a million kids, it hits differently for me. This is a battle, and this is last school year, so everybody knows everybody had a battle for COVID in the last school year. And then I'm not ashamed by that number. I think that number is okay. Now I'm editorializing. Everybody wants to talk about data. I'm going to editorialize some. That's just the nature of my personality. We spent a lot of time trying to make certain that the kids were okay. And we spent a lot of time trying to adjust the way we have done things. And then we moved into this year, and it got worse. Then it got worse at a bunch of schools. My wife's an assistant principal at a school that looks demographically very similar to ours, and they had a hell of a time trying to keep up. And that made me feel better, but we have spent a lot of time, and I've been here with Moses especially for a long time, trying to adjust. And the West Chicago I started in is not the West Chicago, or the West Chicago that Penny went to is not the same West Chicago. It seems to change dramatically like every 5 years. And I would say the West Chicago that you went to, not even close to the West Chicago that you went to in 2012. And we have a lot of great people, and we have a lot of great systems in place. However, as our demographics change and drastically as student needs change, we have to do more and more and adjust and adjust. And I'm super impressed with what 33 has just talked about, because the programming is super important for the transition from 5th to 6th, and then again from 8th to 9th. And I don't know if everybody has the answer to that, but 8th to 9th it appears to be an impossible transition. And that first semester here, it's great for some kids, but it's a genuine struggle for a lot of kids. This year, I have expert attendance people that do a lot of things, and we're missing kids. We are losing kids. We are trying to reach out in a million different ways. They went to the school board last week to talk about it. And here's another thing I will say. Our school board has been extremely supportive of a lot of the change we made, and Dr. Dwyer has been truly innovative and is absolutely just dove right into trying to figure out what we can do better, how we can adjust, how we can add staff, how we can support. And our school board has definitely been supportive of that also. Our attendance data is going to get better. It's going to get better and even when we do take credit for it, which we will do, the credit should also go to 33, because you're doing a lot of the same things. You're adding staff, you're adding support, you're doing things that are really going to help us reach out to kids so that we can get them to school. This is our out-of-school suspension data. It fabulously trends downward, and I will say last year does not really count. I'd love to own that. But this year as well, we have the lowest amount of kids we've out-of-school suspended ever. And I will say also, we had almost zero policy when I came here. And we started implementing a lot of different policies where you can see it trend up. where the senior class kind of got sick of everything, and we're like, we're not going to put our cell phones away, and maybe we don't want to show up on time for class. And we made some adjustments to that, and we have constantly adjusted, and we have constantly adjusted, and we were in the middle of another massive adjustment to do less punitive and more support. So what you are seeing right now is a drastic trend downward to try to support at all costs any kids in any way we can through social work, through counseling, through the dean's office, so that this number continues to trend down so that it is extremely small. And this is just essentially another slide that would indicate those type of things. And the next two slides are extremely boring also. Our outplacement and our alternative placement data is just simply another support. What we try to do, and we have STAR, and I'm not going to steal your thunder, Len. We have so many ways to get a kid a degree. And outplacement is one of them. SPED outplacement is one of them. STAR. We have tier supports in AVID. We have, I know I'm going to read your whole list now, and I'm sorry. I'll stop. But we have a million ways to try and get a kid a high school diploma. They really do genuinely have to go out of their way to not get one. And even then, we have folks here that are going to try and get them a high school diploma. So obviously you can tell this is a place that I'm very attached to. I'm extremely happy that 33 is partnering with us because I think that that's huge for our future success. And I do think that as awful as COVID has been, more editorial, I think it's done a huge thing to unify us and a wake-up call for everybody to try to figure out how we can help kids who are genuinely struggling at every level. Whether you're an AP kid or you're a kid who just doesn't like school altogether, this is our time. This is our time in education. Sorry. Yeah.
I found this on the web.
All right. So I'm going to start by talking about graduation rate. And as you can see here, looking at graduation rates starting in 2005, very consistent and very high graduation rate. We had a slight drop off last year in 2021, and you'll see why. You'll see some of the other outcomes for students on the next slide. But this is an outstanding graduation rate when compared with schools across the state and country. So this chart will show you some of the other outcomes for students that don't graduate. And I'll go through and explain each line a little bit so that you can understand what each of those means. I will say to start out with, the column that says transfer on there, those are numbers that are reported by the state to us, but those are students who have transferred to other schools. So we don't have any control over the coding or anything like that in that column, so I won't address those students. But the first row will show you the number of students that graduated. The second row, transfer to another public school. These are students who stay within our own building and they go to our 18 to 21 program. So that would be a transition program for students. The next line are the students who drop out and don't continue their education. After that, there is a row that is moved, not known to be continuing. These are students who don't show up on the first day of school and don't tell us where they're going. They could move out of country, they could move to out of school, out of state, and the parents or another school has not requested records. So we don't have a record of where they go. Retained in same grade, those are the students that would be the fifth year seniors that will come back that have not completed their graduation requirements. More often than not, those students will finish their requirements. We try to get them to finish them over summer school or through other programming, partnering with COD. And then we have students that transfer to GED as well. And that is an extensive process that we go through working with families. It is a last resort to try to get them to that option, but when the other factors here at the school are not proving successful, we do sometimes, parents do seek that out. One of the reasons that I believe our graduation rate to be so great and so high are the different Tier 2 interventions that we offer here. We have a very wide range, a vast continuum of different services that we can offer to students, and many students receive multiple interventions at different levels. So I'm going to go through and just explain these a little bit to help understand what some of the different supports are that a D94 student might receive in high school. Summer Bridge is a program that I would love to partner more with District 33 on. It is our 8th to 9th grade transition program. Students, we invite all students. They come in for 3 weeks over summer, and they learn about high school. They do a lot of fun and game type of activities. They get to explore the building, get comfortable, meet some friends, and hopefully it gets them off to a good start. We do offer credit for that program. The next 5 supports, AVID, Study Skills, SRC, Content Support Lab, and GradPoint. These are all courses that we offer. And there's a continuum for students depending on what the needs of a student are. So a student who would receive AVID as a support might be a B or C level student, or a student who is a first generation student, first generation to go to college in their family. They would receive AVID as a support. Study Skills is a support class that's offered to our ESL population. Student Resource Center would be for students who have maybe one failing grade, D or F, starting with one failing grade, potentially more. They would go into this intervention as a class and they would receive one-on-one tutoring help. They would have peer support. They would have different lessons to help them with organization, to help them keep their backpack clean and figure out how to fill out a calendar, and just learning the day-to-day kind of skills that are needed to be successful. Students who aren't successful at that point or who have multiple failures will go into the Content Area Support Lab, and that's a new intervention for us starting next year. And this is, I would describe this more of almost like a study table. This will be with a content area teacher and a small group of students working together, and those will be students who potentially could have multiple failing grades. Students who continue to have multiple failing grades throughout high school may end up in our GradPoint or STAR credit recovery programs. In many districts, these programs are outplacement programs, or they're programs that the schools will send their students away to a different building. Fortunately, we don't have to do that. We can work with those students here, and these are oftentimes students who don't do school well. They need a different structure, they need a different environment, and we have almost like a school within a school with that program, and it really has helped us out a lot. We offer after-school tutoring as an academic intervention. It's actually right here in the LRC. We have academic coaching, which is a mentoring program for staff to work with students who are struggling. Next year, we'll also be starting a student support initiative. I know Dr. Dwyer is going to talk about that, so I won't steal his thunder like Pete did a minute ago to me. Like District 33, we're also adding more support staff. So counselors and social workers, we're adding 2 of each next year. I'm really excited about what we're going to be able to do with that. We're going to be able to work with more students and partner with families a lot more intensively with that extra support. And it's really going to be fantastic for our students. That group of 8 counselors and 7 social workers, they'll work with the deans and the psychologists and all of student services to provide a wide variety of interventions for students depending on what they need, depending on what their struggles are. We offer a variety of groups. Actually just got off the phone today with Wheaton Youth Outreach, who I believe you guys work with as well. And we're going to partner with them next year to offer several different groups in the school in addition to the ones that we're offering already. And then finally, SST and SIT, these are support teams. These are like the dean, counselor, social worker teams that would meet and discuss students, and we have an intervention process for students who are not making progress, who are not doing well, and they will come through this process, and hopefully we can continue to add interventions to help students out, whatever their struggles are. We, just today, we administered a panorama survey, which is a SEL data on our students. So hopefully within the next 1 to 2 weeks, we should have a good baseline. We took a baseline of how they were doing at the beginning of the year. We're just going to find out at the end of the year what the SEL needs are. We saw this year a ton of emotion regulation issues, a ton of issues with self-efficacy, growth mindset, and grit, many of the same things that you guys are seeing at all of the schools. So it's definitely a problem that all of us together, hopefully we can work together to figure that out. At this point, I'm going to turn it over to Veronica Winton.
Okay, so as Pete alluded to, with the different supports that we're going to be offering next year and being a little bit more responsive, there's been a shift in my role for next year. So part of my role for next year will be to expand some of our family and community supports that we provide, and to kind of take away some of the punitive approaches that we've had in the past, and to make it more, responsive and more holistic for the students' needs. So these are some of the things that we do. We offer the 4 BPAC meetings, and we partner with District 33, and we host those together. We've been having them here the last couple of years. We have open house every year. We provide interpreters for families if they need that. We have welcome presentations for 8th grade parents, and we shifted that a little bit this year based on some of the kids coming in and asking a lot of questions that we felt we had already answered, and realizing that maybe the way we were pushing out information was not appropriate. So this year for our 8th grade step-up night, we did something very different. We had students talk to the families, and I got really good feedback from that. Kids seem to really understand a little bit better about what to expect when they're coming here. So little things like that are what we're hoping to change. Additionally, the counselors have a parent night every year, every year for every grade level. So there's a 9th grade parent night, 10th grade parent night that specifically addresses what those students should be doing in that year, what's important as they prepare for graduation, and what they're going to want to do when they leave here. We have a FAFSA open night as well in English and Spanish, so we have people that come in to walk the parents through that, to set up the account. It's a really hard process for people that have been to college, and it's that much harder for some of our kids who are navigating that by themselves for the first time. So we have college representatives come in and walk the parents through setting up their account and actually get them started on it. We tell them what to bring, like bring your tax information, what they're going to need to start filling out some of that stuff. So that's been super helpful. This year also we partnered with the ROE on some of this attendance stuff. As we know, it's been a struggle this year. So we were kind of the ROE's guinea pig, and they hosted their first night here. And we learned a lot of stuff. They learned a lot of things, and they were gonna move on to try doing it in different districts. Some of the things that we don't have up here that I also wanted to mention, we also partner with COD for some adult education classes here. So COD hosts citizenship classes here for families that's open to the community. And they also offer GED classes for adults. So that is housed here. Len had mentioned after-school tutoring and some of the things that we do after school. So this year, we have also started to offer an activity bus, which is the first time we've had that in a really long time. The kids don't like it, but it's there. Hopefully they will start using it, but they're really not using it as much, but it's there, and we'll keep it there in hopes that it'll, more kids will take advantage of it. And then I know that District 33 works a lot with Puente del Pueblo, and they have always struggled with the high school programming, so we did invite them in to talk to our families this year because they just hired somebody new for the high school program specifically, so we thought, why don't we get them in here to talk to our parents to try and encourage the kids to go to that program and to expand that program a little bit. So I think that's it. Dr. Dwyer?
Thank you so much. So before I talk a little bit about our extracurricular participation, I just want to echo some of what I've heard. I've really heard 2 great themes here tonight, and they have been growth and response. So I look at the data from 33, the data from 94, our kids are growing, and the programming that we're implementing, that the boards are supporting, are having the intended effects. And we are adding programming at K-8, 9, 12 in response to what we see our kids need. The third commonality I see too, I think we all see it in the data, the last 2 years have rocked this community. And we see momentum. 33, I was talking to Maggie at our table and seeing the growth happening right up to the pandemic, and then the deleterious effect that can have is really, it's eye-opening for all of us. And seeing the collaborative efforts that we can make as we start to come back from the effects of the last 2 years, I'm very excited by that. So I want to talk about our extracurriculars. We have incredible extracurricular offerings. One thing that I say to every incoming freshman is we are big enough to offer everything, and we are small enough that you can be involved in anything. And it's a really great spot for us to be in. So let me go through what some of this data here means. So as you can see, for athletics, we had overall 505 unique kids participate in just an athletic sport. Of that, 61% of them were from District 33. We've got, in terms of just in an activity, 524 unique kids who only do an activity. 72% of those kids are from District 33 as well. And then when we look at the kids who do both athletics and activities, 639 kids are participating in one of both, and then 83% of those kids are coming from District 33. So it sees an incredible amount of involvement. If you add those numbers up too, we've got over 1,600 of our kids out of about 2,000 who are participating in something. And the data tells us if you get involved after school, you're going to be more successful. So we're very encouraged by those rates of participation. We are always adding new clubs, new activities, always looking at new IHSA supports that we can add as well too, and how we can support that programming. One of the initial things Mr. Egan referred to, I want to mention as well too, for next year, and I want to give our board a lot of credit here. Since before my time, they have been talking about and supporting the idea of a student support initiative or homeroom advisory might be another term you could hear for it. And then our teaching staff this year, through our negotiation process, we decided on this and came up with a structure, and I'm very excited about it. So for next year, essentially what we'll be doing is we'll be changing our bell schedule pretty significantly. We're going to be taking Tuesday through Friday about 30 minutes out of our day, isolating it right after third hour but before fourth hour. And as you can see, we're going to put it into two different purposes. Something we're calling den time, which I'll talk about in a minute, and the other part, academic support. So 2 days a week, kids are going to receive a very research-based, discrete lesson on one of three topics I'll talk about in a minute. The other 2 days a week, they can get either academic support through a study hall or a very structured content support that we'll be staffing as well too that kids can be referred to. So let me talk through those. So the three areas we'll be focusing the lessons on are school culture, namely how to be a wildcat. What does it mean to be a high school student, and how can you be a digital citizen? How can you prepare for the SAT? How can you get ready to transition from high school into college? Second thing will be social emotional learning. As Mr. Egan pointed out, our kids, before COVID, we saw an increase in SEL need. Post-COVID, it's gone even higher. This is a way for every kid, every week, to have a tier 1 structured lesson about social emotional well-being. And every grade level is catered uniquely because the questions and the struggles a 14-year-old has, they are different from that of an 18-year-old. And the entire lesson structure for all grades 9 through 12 has been developed by our staff through the Castle Research Framework. And then finally, our student services team, led by Mr. Egan, is going to be pushing into all of those different den sections to work on course selection, career planning, college exploration, panorama, getting ready for those standardized tests that we take too. So really putting all those things that at the high school level we usually hodgepodge all over, consolidating all of that into a very specific time every single day. So we're very excited to offer that. That starts next year. We've been rolling that out, and it'll be a big change, but a great opportunity for us to meet and respond to some of the new changes and the new challenges that we are all seeing. And I think that is actually the end of our slides. I'm sorry, there's one more. Let me see here. There we go. So just so what it looks like for our kids every day for that students, the den time. Teachers who have kids in a den are going to be delivering 2 lessons a week and providing 2 days of structured study hall time. Our student services members, again, they're pushing into dens or they're pulling kids out of dens to have small group work, checking in with teachers, checking in with kids, really specific tier 2 interventions for social emotional well-being. And then the other teachers would be working on what we call academic support. So if you're a freshman, you'd have 2 days a week. You'd have the opportunity to be referred to see a math teacher, an English, a science, a social studies teacher. If you need some very specific content help, you refer to that area, you report there, and you get that very specific help. And as you can see here too, the lessons which have already been developed for our den time lessons are really drawing upon that social emotional well-being framework, and it's being based on some of that panorama data that we gathered earlier this year with our students. So we're really looking forward to that, and we think it's going to be a very responsive opportunity for our kids. So with that, that concludes our District 94 slides. I want to turn it back over to Superintendent Davis, if you want to come back up and take us through the debrief.
I want to thank you for sharing all the information. I think that was really helpful for our team. I think what my reflection is that we are all really dealing with the same barriers to learning outside of school as well as inside of school. And I just wanted to offer this as an extension of our presentation that as we are a community school network, that national model, which brings so many resources into our district, it is a community school model, although housed in our district, it's really for the whole community. So that is something that you can all tap into if you wanted to join us in our community school network. There's so many resources that could really help free up your time and your supports and your energies to put it into the academics as we're doing. So just something to offer that is an extension of this that I think would really help because we're dealing with, it sounds like, the same issues. So next, we're going to get into interests. I'm just going to look at the time here real quick. We're at 8:30. So the way we thought we would structure this is that we do have several buckets, and I'm going to ask Leah to help remind me because I can't see them. So we were looking at how do we look at shared interests and generate those, and in what type of manner. So we generated some buckets, as we call it, interests around our students, interests around our families, interests around our community, academics, and extracurriculars, and behavior, I think was one more. So if there are any other ideas that you have in terms of what you think might be another bucket that would be a shared interest or something that we want to generate shared interests around, please let me know. But we thought we'd start with those. And so each table is going to get a poster paper with a topic on there. So what we'll do is do kind of a carousel. So whatever you have at your table at this time, we'll give you 5 minutes with that chart paper and that interest. For example, let's say you're at the table and you have the shared interests around our students. You would spend the 5 minutes generating what are some shared interests that we have or interests that we have for our students, and jot those down. And then what we'll do is once you're done with your table, we will rotate that to the next table, so the next table will add to it. So at the end of this evening, we will have generated from everyone shared interests in these core areas that we can then take back as a dual admin team, D94, District 33, and start to create some action plans and some things that we can do around those shared interests for both of our students. So unless there is any other questions, everybody should have a chart paper soon. And I think we had one more. Do we have enough for everybody? Okay, great. Okay, so the structure of this, as we said, is 5 minutes to really just jot those down, generate those ideas together. One person will be the scribe or the note taker. And then when we are done with 5 minutes, I'll come back up here, call time, and we will pass it down. Okay? Sounds great.
Great handwriting.
So you become the note taker since the notes are in front of you.
Yes, we're writing right on here.
So, shared interests.
Thank you. Encouraging our families to get together.
Graduation.
At least in one thing.
Most important thing.
Clearly, our community has a lot of challenges. How can we address those challenges together? Definitely heard a lot of ideas that 33 is working on to try to address those challenges.
Feedback
Exactly. That was one of the things that was really jumping out to me is all these supports for these families and, how do we do this and accessing different things. And then I'm very concerned that they get to the high school and it dropped away. They're not getting that kind of guidance to connect with those resources. And that's something they need. Some way, because obviously if they only have one student and they've gone 8th to 9th, they're not talking to 33 folks anymore. Now they're talking to our folks, and if we're not able to connect them the way you guys were, what's the family going to do?
It's the non-academic stuff.
Yeah, right. That really jumped out from the 33 presentation is that non-academic support that you folks are trying to help these families with. What do they do when they get to the high school? Because I'm not sure they're getting that level of support from us in the non-academic area.
So how, I think, shared interest is collaborating on the handoff of those families. So as they're, how are we communicating that these are the families we're supporting that are coming to you?
And how we're
community,
supporting them.
And this is how we're supporting them. These are the supports that can continue through our community school network. Or maybe these are supports that we're no longer able to offer, but if District 94 can pick that up, then...
Because that was that last bit that was mentioned, that I'm glad it was brought up. I've never heard of this community school network. That sounds like a really wonderful thing, and what can 94 do to connect with that? How can that help us to serve our community better?
And the plus is a lot of our students, a lot of the students in 94 do have siblings in 33, so they're still accessing those resources.
They're talking to both districts at that point.
But it's really for those families
You got about a minute left. One more minute. Okay, that is the end of our breakout time. If you could just leave the chart paper at your table. Leave the chart paper at, yeah, that's a good idea. Learned that like 30 minutes ago. All right, I wanted to share did you want to talk about that or? Okay. Wanted to share a few closing comments before we have each of the respective board presidents call for a motion to adjourn. This has been a great night, and I hope that you have found this to be beneficial. Before Christina and I were in our respective roles right now, I do remember just meeting with each other over lunch and talking about how great it would be to increase the articulation. It's been a goal of ours for quite a while. And we've been making efforts towards that. And obviously this year COVID set back everything. Really, a lot of kudos go to Maggie and Will for continuing that effort in the articulation. And as I mentioned earlier in the start of this meeting, we've had a great many conversations that were productive, positive, and encouraging as each group of teachers came back and forth to each of the districts. And so it's been fortunate because we happen to have in the works a summit for all of our sending districts, as well as District 94, to meet together in June. Because as much as we talk about District 33 and 94, the kids really are the same. Their goals are the same, and their needs are the same. And so what we take away from here very much would apply to District 25 and 34, and that was a topic of our conversation earlier this afternoon with our superintendent articulation meeting. So for next steps, what's going to happen is we will collect the chart paper, and Christina graciously volunteered to take that, compile that, put it, type it down into a format electronically, and she'll send that to us, and we'll send it out to you so that you have that. We also plan on sharing this with District 25 and District 34 superintendents, again, because the information is good, so that when we get back together for our June 23rd summit, that would be a focal point for us as administrators to start laying down the groundwork and putting legs to these ideas, and then share that back out to you with that information. So I hope that you do find this this time to be positive. It's a great partnership. We've been looking forward to this for quite a while, and I do hope that this is just, again, another step towards what will be a valuable collaboration for all of our kids. So with that, I think you wanted to say something.
Just want to share, you've been so gracious to host us here. We wanted to extend an invitation to our end of the year Ballet Folklorico presentation. For those of you who are familiar with the Mexican culture, this is probably the biggest event of the year. It's for Mother's Day, which is on May 10th. The date doesn't change in Mexico. It's always on May 10th. And it's in Latin America, it's a time where you'll see a lot of the festivals in terms of the culture, the music, and our children perform. And we usually pull in about 600 parents at this event every year, Hispanic parents. So we did want to just leave you this invitation to come visit us, as you've been so gracious to have us here. As well, I just also want to make you aware of something new that we're doing that I heard some shared interest that is coming up that we're trying to do to support the high school is a parent series called Preparing Students to Attend College. We feel very strongly that this conversation can't start in 8th grade or high school. It needs to start in elementary school, even in kindergarten. It's not about if they go to college. It's not about if they have a career. It's about when they have those things. Here's what you need to do starting in kindergarten. And we have a presenter, Dr. Hector Garcia, who's actually a colleague of ours, superintendent from Hinsdale. He's going to be presenting this because he is a first-generation college student, Hispanic, who is obviously doing very well. And so he's going to be presenting to our parents a series on this, and this is our hope to support some of that articulation and conversation that we're having today to support what needs to happen in high school, because we need our parents with us. So anyway, I'll leave these for you if you'd like to take it and participate and come. I also want to add that administrators will be performing if you want some entertainment, and we will be performing. And we will be dressed up, and it is fun. We always have fun. We do it with the staff. So anyway, but the kids are great. And some of you, I think, Lynn, you came to the other one. This is a much bigger event, but it's very similar. And thank you so much for coming, by the way. I It was nice. So, and your high school kids are actually performing with our kids. So they were there performing as well and came back. And we're very excited because they were told, or we're starting to make plans for that here. So thank you so much for that. That means a lot to our families and to our students. So I'll leave this for all of you. It's an open invitation. So thank you again, and we hope you all have a great evening. If your questions that you had on your tables, if you could just throw them up on those chart papers there, and we'll take our respective schools' questions, and we'll get back to you with some responses. We need to talk about that. I'm not quite sure what the questions are, so we'll talk about how we'll respond back with those, either verbally in writing, maybe at a next meeting in the fall, but we'll try to get those back to you soon.
Okay, so with that, we'll have each of the board presidents go ahead and call for a motion to adjourn.